Welcome to another episode of Food, Nutrition, and Wellness with Dr. Dan Remley. Today we're going to be talking about healthy eating for people on the go. So stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Food, Nutrition, and Wellness with Dr. Dan Remley. Dr. Dan Remley is an associate professor and field specialist with the Food, Nutrition, and Wellness at The Ohio State University. Dan, it's always a pleasure talking with you. You really provide a lot of great insight on maintaining health.
Thanks, Patrick, and thanks for having me back.
You have an interesting topic today, eating healthy for people on the go.
Yeah, I thought this would be relevant today since many people are returning back to their offices and maybe traveling more. So I thought this would be, a little bit of a reminder for people if they're going to be on the go, just to help their diets and eat healthier and that type of thing. Okay, this was, I worked with Amanda Bolin. She's an extension educator in Washington County to develop this presentation. So we're going to talk about how you can order healthier items if you're at a restaurant, some of the unhealthier choices, and then maybe some healthier options for, we even get into some ethnic foods, ethnic restaurants. And then even if you're not eating out and you're getting food at the convenience store, we'll give you some ideas for making healthier choices. And then just some things that you can think about, in terms of if you're traveling and you don't want to stop anywhere, what are some things you can do in terms of having snacks around and in your car, or having a cooler if you're at a ball game or something like that. So this is all about eating when we're not at home and eating healthily.
One of the things, Dan, that I've noticed during the pandemic when we were all staying at home, the refrigerator was only a few steps away.
Not as it's always more tempting when you're near the refrigerator. I think we've all gained a little bit of weight if we were staying home during this pandemic, for sure. So just thinking about the past couple of weeks, Patrick, have you eaten a meal in your car, or have you eaten out at fast food, or maybe you're walking somewhere and had something to eat, driving, or maybe you're too busy, so you skipped a meal? Any of these things relate to you?
One of the things that I find while I'm driving is I love to chew on potato chips or some kind of snacks like that. I know that's not healthy, but it's very easy if you're driving by yourself.
Maybe a healthier option would be to, if you really like salt too, and I do like salty food sometimes when I'm driving, but consider like pistachio nuts or some nuts or seeds too. That might be something to think about.
That's a good idea.
Pistachio nuts that they've already have the shells removed and they're spicy, so they're a little bit lower in sodium. So that's just an option. That way you don't get the carbs. You get a lot of vitamins and minerals and fiber when you're snacking on nuts as opposed to the potato chips. So I don't know if you knew this, but since 1970s, that's when I grew up, the number of fast foods have actually doubled. And I can remember growing up and we didn't have any fast food restaurants. We didn't have McDonald's in our town, or, I grew up in Western Michigan in a small town. And I just remember driving to, my school, and not seeing any fast food restaurants. When I take my kids to school, we pass at least half a dozen, fast food establishments. So the fast food industry, the restaurant industry has really grown since 1970s. And you can see by this pie chart here, Americans are eating out way more often than what they used to. And so in the 1970s, you can see that this is the gray area represents meals, in the home. And you can see today's pie chart, we don't eat as much in the home. That's a fortunate time we eat at home. And then there's the time that we're eating out has increased quite a bit. You can see that by
what's the difference between fast food and restaurants? Aren't they pretty much the same?
Yeah, they typically they're categorized by like sit down restaurants, and then there's There's fast food, which, typically you go through the drive-through, not a whole lot of people eat inside. But then there's like what they call fast casual. And so these are like your Chipotle's and places like that where you go in, but you get it pretty quick. But a lot of people do eat inside the restaurant, or they order their food inside the restaurant as opposed to, getting it through the drive-through. And actually about a third of people today eat out at least once a day. The numbers, people really do. I think it has, I think these pie charts would look differently during this pandemic. I think people are eating more at home where they were. But now, as I said, things are starting to normalize a little bit. So I think people will be eating out more at restaurants and fast food places. This is a really good quote by Benjamin Franklin. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail, right? So if you really do want to eat healthier and you're going to be out and about quite a bit and traveling around, going places, if you don't have a plan, you're probably going to not do so well in terms of your dietary choices. And so that's why it's really important to think about, okay, if I'm going to be, if my kids have soccer and I'm traveling back and forth with softball, maybe I should plan ahead and have some snacks available so that I'm not tempted to stop and order something. Or if I do know that I'm going to a restaurant, having just a plan to order those healthier choices. And so it's kind of like the same idea. If you go to a grocery store without a shopping list, what kinds of foods you're going to buy? Probably a lot of those impulse purchases. And so that's why in family and consumer sciences, we always recommend that people go into a store with a shopping list, do plan, and they have lists and that type of thing. They're going to buy less of those impulse items. So let's talk about eating out at restaurants. Really good idea when you're ordering menu items. You want to look for those that are cooked with less fat. And fat adds a lot of calories. It has about 9 calories per gram. So some of the terms that you want to look for on the menus include, like, you want to look for items that are baked or broiled or grilled, roasted, steamed. Those types of terms are what you want to look for, and avoid the fried, because when you fry food, you're going to add a lot of fat and a lot of calories. Smaller portions of foods, I think that's also you're going to cut your calories in half by just ordering the cheaper regular hamburger. And you can also cut back on like cheese, like that. If you look at a regular hamburger versus a regular cheeseburger, the regular hamburger has about a third less calories than the regular cheeseburger. So just by cutting out cheese on your items, you're going to cut back on the amount of calories. And the portion size is really, really important too, in terms of saving calories. And it's also cheaper too. So a lot of those regular hamburgers, they might be $1 or $2 if you order from the drive-through. Switching out sides is a good idea. So when if you order a salad, order the salad dressing on the side, and that's going to save you a lot of calories. And also, like, instead of ordering fries, what you can do is order like vegetables or fresh fruit on the side. But that'll save you a lot of calories that way too.
So the French fries, are they more healthy now?
French fries, I think, in some restaurants still have a little bit of trans fats. And the issue with trans fats is that the recommended daily allowance is about 0.5 gram. And if an item has less than 0.5 gram of trans fats, they can list it. They can say on their food label that they don't have, this item doesn't have any trans fats, when it might have 0.4 or it might have 0.3 grams. So that really adds up. And if you eat this item and then that item, then really the amount of trans fat that you get is going to be above what's recommended. So items, especially like fried foods and like many of your baked items, like you baked desserts like donuts and things like that, are going to have a little bit of trans fat in them. And it might not be a lot, but a little bit. And those things do add up, and it can be more detrimental to your cardiovascular system and that type of thing. So even though if you look at the label and says, there isn't any trans fat in this item, there may be a little bit and they don't have to report it. But a lot of your fried foods, your donuts, your cakes and things like that. You think about, if you go to the gas station, you get like one of those pies, those fry pies, and foods like that. Well, they have probably a little bit of trans fat in them, but you might not see it on the label. But so trans fat and also the saturated fat, and those fats are found in like pretty high in red meats and foods like that. So, but anyway, there are apps too. Like there's an app here called Calorie King, and you can get this on your smartphone, and you can't really see it. Any hamburger, I can go to any restaurant on here and look up the menu item and see how many, like I have diabetes, so I count carbohydrates, so I can see how many grams of carbohydrates. But if you're on a special diet and you're trying to, look at the number of calories per menu item, you can look those up too. There's lots of apps that do this. And it's good to kind of build awareness of it's interesting to see too, like you can order the cheeseburger, that'll be, a regular cheeseburger is 300 calories, whereas just the regular hamburger is going to be about 250 calories. So you can kind of compare different menu items on some of these apps too. And that can be helpful in terms of helping you make healthier choices. But people tend to get into trouble, in terms of their calorie intake with some of these beverages choices. So with coffee shops, the important thing, especially if you're ordering like lattes or things with syrup in them, try to downsize. Don't get the large, get the small. You can make healthier choices as well. So especially with dairy, instead of getting whole milk, ask for skim milk or light milk, and that'll save you some calories. Like a lot of your lattes and things like that, you can ask for it to hold off on the whipped cream or the syrupy drizzle, like the caramel drizzle. Those things all add a lot of sugar and a lot of calories to your beverages. And ask for less, like if it's a special drink, ask for less pumps of the syrup. That'll save you some calories. But, a lot of these coffee shops do have desserts and muffins and cookies and things like that. Split the sweets, so cut the muffin in half, share it with somebody, and that's going to save you a lot of calories. I love sandwich shops, but they can also be, depending on what you get, you can add a lot of calories to your meal plan, your diet. So when you're considering going to a sub shop or a sandwich shop, really look for healthier bread choices, such as whole grain bread choices. They're going to add a lot more fiber, which is really healthy for you. Ask for the leaner cuts of meats. Pile on the vegetables as much as you can. And then ask for healthier condiments. So like mayonnaise, for example, is pretty high in calories and fat and that type of thing. So mustards and salsas and products like that are better choices for sandwiches. I don't know about you, but I love Italian food. And with Italian, it's the same idea here is really see if there's any whole grain choices, just like with the breads. Cheese adds a lot of calories too. So, be careful with cheeses. You can ask for less cheese on some of your products. And I like Parmesan cheese, and but you can overdo it with Parmesan as well. The red sauces are better than the white sauces. Like Alfredo sauces tend to have more fat and calories. And, some of these Italian restaurants, you can get the refills. And so just because you can refill it doesn't mean you have to gorge on bread. So, maybe one or two servings of bread, depending on what your meal plans are, or, how concerned are you with different calories, carbohydrates, that type of thing. So
you can really make a meal out of some of the bread when you go to some of the Italian restaurants, because the bread is freshly baked and really good.
Yeah, or, another idea is to take some home too. You don't have to eat it there. You can take it home, put it in a Tupperware container, keep it fresh. But that's another option. So pizzas are very high in calories. About a slice of pizza has about 150 calories or so. And a lot of times, 40 grams of carbohydrate. That's about one beer. So one slice of pizza is equal to one beer. I think you've probably heard me say that before. But with pizzas, you can make healthier choices. You can order a thin crust. You can pile on the vegetables and cut back on the meats. A lot of the meats for pizzas are very fatty, like I'm thinking about sausage and pepperoni. They're also highly processed too. So they're high in calories, they're processed, so they're not very good for us. And so there are some meats are better choices, like Canadian bacon, for example, ham. The chicken, you put chicken on your pizzas. Typically, those are leaner meats and better choices, but load up on the vegetables. The thinner crust is going to save you a lot of calories too. But my problem is I get the thin crust and I think I can eat half the pizza. So, with pizzas too, like I said, the red sauces are better than the white sauces in terms of the calories and that type of thing. And then a lot of times, pizza places, they have things you can order with your pizza. So I would definitely recommend getting a salad rather than like the fried items too.
I often wonder in some of the foods that perhaps they add a little sugar to make it a sweeter taste.
Yeah, sometimes some pizzas do add sugar to their sauces. So they can, some pizza sauces are high in calories for sure.
And it makes you want to eat more.
Yes, exactly. Now, some sauces are like barbecue. Barbecue has brown sugar in it, so some of those barbecue chicken pizzas tend to be a little bit higher in calories and carbohydrates and that type of thing. And I think a really good rule of thumb is stopping after 2 slices. That's kind of my rule. If I eat more than 2 slices, I'm just miserable. And now, again, it depends on the slice. You get a New York style pizza, they're really big slices. I don't know if that's style.
Well, I was thinking if you cut the pizza in half, you'd have 2 slices.
Yeah, exactly. So you can, there's lots of ways you can fudge that. With Chinese food tends to be high in fat, and if you get the fried items, and high in carbohydrates because the sauce has a lot of sugar, has fat. So Chinese food really you can really get a lot of calories in with Chinese food if you're not careful. So if you get your vegetables and they're not fried, they're and your meats, so look for, again, just like with the other restaurants, look for baked, steamed, boiled, sauteed, and try to choose less of the fried. You're going to save a lot of calories that way. There are some really good soups in Chinese restaurants, and so like your hot and sour, your egg soups, those are pretty good choices. You can always ask for less oil and light sauce. If you're ordering from the menu, it's a little bit harder if you're choosing from a buffet, but there are healthier choices with Chinese too. With where I get in trouble with Mexican, I love Mexican food. Yesterday was Cinco de Mayo. Mexican food is, again, there's healthier choices with Mexican. People really get in trouble with those chips. They bring out the chips and you just start eating, and before you know it, you've consumed 600 calories in those chips. And so typically with the chips, serving size is about 12 to 15 chips. And so if you actually count them out, put them on your bowl, then you won't overeat on the chips. And then you can take the rest of the chips home. So just be careful with the chips. And as a person with diabetes, chips can really get me in trouble as well in terms of carbohydrates. With the tortilla shells, if you actually, I don't know if you've ever had corn tortilla shells, they have much, much more fiber, actually 70% more fiber than the regular flour shell. So order the corn shells if that works for you. And then, of course, the brown rice is a better choice. The black and the pinto beans are great choices because they're high in fiber and vitamins and minerals, and just very, very good for you. Try to order the grilled types of things, like grilled chicken, grilled shrimp, lean steak, and you can get those on like fajitas and that type of thing. There's a lot of some of the choices in Mexican restaurants are fried items, and so chimichangas come to mind, tostadas, quesadillas, and those are fried, so they're going to have a lot more calories in them as well. And then like the queso cheese, your cheeses, they're going to have more calories, and so sauces like salsa, that's a healthier choice. Pile on the lettuce too. So buffets really get people in trouble. The same reason that chips get people in trouble in the Mexican restaurants. It's there. You get a limited supply, and so it's kind of hard to regulate. It's harder and harder to find buffets. Most restaurants that offer buffets, you just don't see as many. And a lot of them have discontinued their buffets. But if you're at the buffets, really do focus on the soups and the salads and pile on the vegetables, skip the desserts, like it's really easy to overdo it with desserts. But you can get healthier desserts like fresh fruit. And you can put a little bit of whipped cream on the fresh fruit, and that might satisfy your sweet tooth. Limit your trips. Use the smaller plates. That'll help, in terms of how much food you get. And then with salad dressings, the mayonnaise-based salad dressings will have far more calories than your oils, the ones that are more like vinaigrettes and things like that. And there are many high-fat toppings with salads too that you just have to be kind of wary of. A lot of people do like to go to the grocery store to get their dinners. If they're in a hurry. For example, if you go into a lot of the grocery stores, carry rotisserie chickens. There's you get salads in bags, and so you don't have to mix the salads up. There's just a lot of good options. And again, same idea as you want to avoid the fried foods that you can get at the deli, but you can get salads. You can get broth-based soups that are really good that you can just order at the deli. Take them home, you heat them up. There are sandwiches that are healthier, certain dips like hummus and pita breads. And so these are just ideas that you can use at the deli if you're out and about. So if you're running from sporting event to sporting event and you're just really busy in your car a lot, you can keep these snacks on hand. These are snacks that if you've ever gone backpacking or hiking, you might be familiar with a lot of these types of foods. These don't need to be refrigerated. You can keep them in your car. Love apples, like fruits, keep them ready in your car. Whole grain crackers, with peanut butter, chicken or tuna pouches, a trail mix. I love trail mix. Gorp, good old fashioned raisins and peanuts. You kind of mix apples and almonds. You can make up dried apples and almond peanuts and throw in a little bit of dark chocolate. You've got a nice snacks there. Again, fruit you can have fresh fruit, or you can even get canned cups, and still those are healthier choices than a lot of things. And then my colleague Amanda, this is some of her favorites that she keeps handy and around. So when she's taking her kids out and about, these are some things she grabs. They also have adult Lunchables. I don't know if you've heard of Lunchables, but those are
yes, but not for adults.
Kids take to school. Well, they have these for adults too. And so these are some items. You can look for these items in your grocery store. Now, these are going to be a little bit more expensive, but if you're going to be on the go a few days a week, these might be something you would invest in. It can save you time, or you can make up your own too. If you can plan ahead on Sunday, get some Tupperware and start, assembling some meals. So these are some pretty simple things. There's some hard-boiled eggs and carrots and hummus and pita and vegetables. Think about the different food groups, and just some simple things that you can prepare and have those in a container like this.
Dan, we only have a minute or so left, and I know that you have a wealth of knowledge about healthy eating. What would you like to leave the audience with when it comes to eating more healthy?
I think small changes can really add up. And so think about what small change you might want to work on. So it might be, instead of ordering the regular hamburger, instead of ordering the quarter pounder, order the regular one. Or if you get fries with every hamburger, think about switching out the fries for a cup of fruit or something like that. And those little changes seem small, but they really add up over time. And they'll help you keep you healthier. If you have a chronic disease like diabetes, that'll help. If you're worried about developing a chronic condition, then those little small changes do add up. And it takes a long time to form a habit too. So just pick one strategy that you'd like to try and try to be successful at that for a while.
Well, you make a really good point. Oftentimes, we make a resolution, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that ever again. And we find ourselves back into that habit. So making those changes, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, we're talking with Dr. Dan Remley. Dr. Dan Remley is associate professor and field specialist with the Ohio State University Food, Nutrition, and Wellness Program. Dan, I really like your shows, and I really appreciate helping us keep healthy.
Thanks for having me on.